Shannon Stott and Luke Wallen.
Me, Rollins, hello.
Luke, this is great. This,
Yeah.
I've done this show a million times, and only just now have I figured out like that I can just go click and stick what we're talking about right at the beginning.
Woohoo! Oh, this is great. Okay, all right.
I just like these. You can't. Anticipate these things. It's like, oh, trying all these things, and we're gonna do this, that, and the other. And what did I think? What did I want to talk about? Oh, right. You can literally just put it on the screen right there. Okay, this is what we're talking about today. Also, hi Charlotte, and hi to the rest of you, all of you that are watching right now. There you're watching right now. I know, there, I can just feel it. Today, I wanted to talk to Luke about the unknown within. Can improv help us discover and face what amazing and terrifying unknown things are within us? What part does drama therapy play in holding our unknown lightly? Dun, 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 dun.
Oh yeah. Oof, man.
I know. I've been thinking about, well, obviously, like, yes, we've been exploring like the unknown of all sorts of different things. And I was thinking today about this, like this internal unknown, the parts of ourselves, and I'll speak very candidly and very specifically about me, but the parts of myself that I'm either very scared of, like I don't even want to touch wherever that came from, or the parts of myself that almost I take for granted, like, yes, I'm energetic, or I mean, people think I'm extroverted, like pro knowledge. If you really want to know about Shannon Stott, I am extrovert passing. I just, yeah, I need time to recover. But let's quiet. I'm an extrovert, or wherever that like comes from, right? Like this, and we don't tend to dig into where it comes from. It's unknown. We just sort of take it for granted. Like, this is how I am. This is who I am. I'm just like this, and I'm moving through the world. But I wanted to talk to you about like taking a moment to recognize those pieces and dig a little deeper into them, and then how we do that with improv, how improv helps us do that, and how drama therapy helps us do that.
Oh yeah. Just reading the what you posted in the screen below. It just got me thinking about like, okay, so the first time that I like went and took improv classes, still to this day, but I get those hesitant feet, on the sideline, and be like, I have an idea, and so they're like, it's really fascinating to feel that about like, because like I have those impulses, but yet I get like doubtful because I'm like, it is the unknown. I'm like, I'm reaching the liminality of that. Of like, I don't know what's going to happen. But and the more that like I, started playing into that and started being like, you know what, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what we're going to do. But you know what, I'm just going to go with the impulse because that's a joyful thing. I'm sparked by this idea. I'm going to go for it. And so, and stuff will come out. Some character stuff may come out. That's great. But, and so it's really fun to like, activate into that imagination as an adult.
Yes.
So it's just really, really fun.
The piece, you're sparking a game in my head. Any game that causes us, improv game that has like the devil and the angel on your shoulder, or
Yeah.
somebody talking about your inner thoughts. Like somebody will stand on stage behind you and you'll speak, but they'll say what you're really thinking.
Yeah.
Or there's a game that we play that's, what is that? It's something, it's like you brush your teeth and you
Oh,
have to tell yourself, like, now
yeah.
put the toothpaste in your nose.
Right. Yeah. Demon voice. Demon voice.
Demon voice.
Yeah.
Why are we listen, people? We're not all about demons in
Yeah,
improv,
no, no,
but
no.
we do have a lot of these things. But when we talk about exploring our inner selves, I think about those games because they
Mhm.
are a physical manifestation of that exploration. Like we don't
Yeah.
have to do the work on our own. There is literally somebody there, especially with the first two games, right? There's literally somebody there who is, saying what it is that you're thinking.
Mhm.
And even as an improviser, like as Shannon Stott, listening to Luke Wallens say,
Mhm.
I'll say to a character, I really like your dress, but Luke Wallens might say, you're so jealous, you're gonna eat your own shoes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Playing that game, because it's a manifestation of what's happening, even if it is very playful,
Mhm.
there is a encouragement off the stage, right? When we're playing that game, yes, it's fun, it's a game, it's done. But when we're off the stage, it encourages us to play that within ourselves. Like
Mhm.
when we are talking to people, what we can ask ourselves, what am I actually thinking here?
Mhm.
How, and when we are done with a conversation or done with an interaction, we can reflect on, okay, well, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? Why was I feeling that way? What was the Luke Wallens or what was my inner voice actually saying?
Yeah.
And it helps us to start to discover who we are and what people mean to us.
Yeah, and I really like the fact that you had mentioned the word reflection, because yay, very therapeutic, but also drama therapeutic term,
Mhm.
and also just a fun life term, because like I really really value when I do drama therapy sessions. A lot of it is with groups, and so it's always good to have that, like, so even if you're doing something vulnerable on the stage, you can reflect with the group and be like, hey, what did you see, and versus
Mhm.
what did I feel internally when they were saying the same thing. And and like you can talk and reflect about that. And because yeah, like another thing with improv that I was put into that I didn't realize that I was I don't know, that's kind of where a lot of people saw me, was that like I was put as a protagonist in later
Mhm.
scenes, to do narrative improv, and I was like, I I uh, I never and so I never saw myself as that part. Um,
Oh.
and like because I was like, oh, I love just being the side character that comes in with one liner and then I run away, which is fun too, but but like yeah, like it was kind of it was kind of a shocker. I'd feel like, oh okay, so what do I do next? How do
Yeah.
because I'm used to like driving the story on the side versus like I'm my character is in the story. And
Yeah.
so
That's so big. I feel like that's exactly what we're talking about. This idea of self-discovery in those moments when you were playing side characters and now
mhm,
you're being invited, let's say encouraged
yeah.
to play the protagonist. You do get a sense of, and you do get to explore off stage later, like, what does that mean about who I am in my own life?
Right,
Oh
right.
no, here we go.
Oh, I know. It's like, yeah.
Right? Like,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
what does it say? What does it say about me that I am more comfortable playing side characters than I am comfortable playing the main character?
Yep.
And then when you're being invited to play the main character, how does it make you feel? What are the things that you were missing before? And
Hmm.
for me, I'm glad we're talking about this, because on the other side of that, I am very much used to playing like a protagonist, right? I want to play the protagonist.
Yeah.
I want to get center stage. I want to get in there. But I too found my like in early in my improv career, my coaches would say, like, okay, Shannon, great. We all know that you can do that. Great. That's great. Primo.
Right.
But can you try to do something else? like, see what that's like, you
Right.
know? And then off stage, what happens in that for me, in like self-discovery wise, it's like, oh right, I don't have to bulldoze. I don't have to
Hmm.
push my story onto other people. I can step aside and still have just as much fun in whatever story we are collaborating on,
Yeah.
or whatever story that person is driving. How can I encourage them? How can I uplift them? How can I help them shine? And getting a grasp on both of those roles on stage really helps me to find balance off stage, when I'm with family, when I'm with friends, when I'm,
Hmm.
just supposed to be listening to whoever is talking. it's
Yeah.
it's it's helpful. It's a
Yeah.
helpful practice.
It is. It is. Yeah. 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 And like taking the next step into that, like, okay, into that opposite of who you think you are, or who
Mhm.
or what you gravitate towards. um
Yeah, I like that.
and like I when we were just talking just now, like, I mean, it just takes a lot of inner trust, of like, I'm going to trust myself to do this. I'm going to trust myself to do this. Like,
Hmm.
um, you know, regardless of the outcome and everything like that, like, I'm going to trust myself to take this next step, this next, calculated risk. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard. It's scary. I feel
yeah,
like that pivots us a little bit into the parts of ourselves that are terrifying, right?
yeah,
So, like, even I was saying, like, yay, we have these parts of ourselves that can be amazing, but there are these parts of ourselves that are scary,
yeah,
And you're talking about trusting ourselves to not discover, but to sort of just look into what those parts are that are scary about ourselves.
mhm.
Highbrow, I feel like. So I was listening to, who was it? James Baldwin. I was listening to
Ooh,
James
yeah,
Baldwin speak. Okay.
yeah.
So he was speaking, and he was answering a question about, basically, it was a race question. The question was like, well, why are these oppressors, aren't the oppressors the worst? Isn't this the worst? Shouldn't we rise up against this? And I'm paraphrasing, excuse me, RIP James Baldwin, excuse me. But the idea being that it's what we are supposed to be learning from each other is that the worst of humanity and the best of humanity can be found within ourselves.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
the idea being, if you can't relate, if you can't see the worst of humanity in yourself, then you're missing it. You're
right.
in danger of repeating what the
Mhm.
worst of humanity does. And so, anyway, to get back, I digress. I digress into what we're talking about. But like the what we're doing on stage is practicing, right? We get to practice. Yes, we get to practice this. Like, yes, I can be the hero. I can be center stage, right? But I also can be the villain. That
Yeah.
it is true. Both reside within us. And so when we're out on the world, the way I feel like the way that uh, that manifests when we're in relationships, when we're in any relationships, boss relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, siblings, whatever it is that is being put upon you that you're not liking, our memory, our improv training tells us I too can be the villain. How is this person being the villain to me right now? How is it possible that how can I put myself in their shoes so we can have a more balanced and rich conversation about what's going on?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's tons of actors out there that have all said, be like, yeah, I really enjoyed playing the villain. That was awesome. It's just much more freeing. It was just, and it was just, it's really fascinating. And I found that to be true too. Be like, oh yeah, oh, because like there's parts to discover about both sides, and like it was really fascinating. You remind me of an exercise I did in it was called personality class, and so as psychology class, and so our instructor had us write out like think about like our worst enemy, and just write out all the qualities of the worst enemy, everything, just get it all out on the page, and then she said, put I am in front of that. And I was like, whoa, I was just like, this oh, it's true, and like it's just like, and so like, because there's a lot of resonance about like why you're so affected by what other people say or don't say, and how they act and don't act and stuff like that. I'm not saying that like, it's just like you are the same person as your enemy. It's not like that. It's just like there are some qualities that still resonate, just like you were saying, and James Baldwin was saying as well.
Right.
So,
I'm hearing complex. I'm hearing the villain, a villain, or even how about being one or the other or both is complex, right? And it is interesting it is a practice when we are practicing improv, and we get, especially in this game where we inner demon like, right, is, I feel like that game, if you don't know the game, yes, I feel like I've explained this game a lot, but if you're doing a mundane task like brushing your teeth, you brush your teeth as a normal person, right? But your inner self is allowed to say things to make you do weird stuff.
Luke, stick it up your nose.
No one.
Now, what next? Brush your brain.
And I feel like that game, is like ridiculous to watch, but as a practice, I'm going deep, Luke.
I'm here.
We can really play with the harm and that we do to ourselves internally, like the things, like we go about our day doing mundane tasks, everyday things, and our brain tells us weird stuff like, you're not smart enough to do that, what?
Oh yeah.
Right, like, but the practice of this, like, to stick the toothbrush up your brain, up your nose and brush your brain, that practice really exposes in real time that we have the capability to self-harm, self-thought, like have harmful thoughts and whatnot. And if we can get into a space with that game where we're playful about it, it can translate later when we're having these real actual thoughts about whatever that make us feel bad. We can sort of bring that playfulness into those thoughts, I feel like, and say to ourselves, thank you so much, thought. You're just a game. This is just a game. And I can win.
Yeah. And like, like you're just as you're talking about it, like, it's just like one, acknowledging the emotion, and not shunning it away, being like, that pisses me off, and then, but that's also a signal, like,
Mhm.
anger is kind of like a fire, like, it's just like flashes through, but but it's also a signal about, like, okay, why am I angry about this? Uh, you know, what are the complexities that I'm triggered by, and
Mhm.
and um, how do I navigate it?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, and coming back to, like, talking about the self, and be like, oh man, like, i'm I'm shying away from that. I can't deal with that, but the more you can, like, come back to be like, you know what, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry, like, we're we're more complex beings than just like, oh yes, things are happy all the time,
right?
things
Yes.
things don't have to be, and that's okay to be upset by things, but the one of the things that can help is, yeah, one, acknowledging, and then two, um figuring out ways to navigate it through, and be like, I'm going to feel the feeling just for a little bit, um and sometimes it's like giving yourself a time limit, if you're like, I'm going to feel it for a little bit, rather than kind of like dwelling on for a long time too,
Yeah.
can help you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to hold on. I want to say this out loud, and then I want to say something, and then come back. But dwelling on the feeling, even for a little bit, I think that's really important. So we're going to drop that in there and then come back to it. And the other
Okay.
thing that I want to say is, oh, you were talking about not shying away from the feeling.
Yeah.
And we're just going to harp on this game. Last week we harped on Little Mermaid. This
Yeah.
week we're going to harp on this
Yeah.
week we're not going to harp on this particular game,
Yeah.
because one of the things that we encourage when we're playing the game is, when we're coaching it, is to keep going, right?
Yeah.
So is to keep going. So yes, you're brushing your teeth, you put it up your nose, now you're brushing your brain, right? And you want to keep going.
Yeah.
And the idea being that if we're paralleling this, that you don't want to say no to yourself. You don't want to push this
Mhm.
ridiculous, that's ridiculous, I'm
Yeah.
smart, you don't have to tell me that I'm too stupid to do this thing, I'm smart,
Right.
and I'm pushing this thought away. You don't have to
Yeah.
tell me to stick my toothbrush up my nose, I'm smart and I'm stopping this game right now.
Right.
We encourage this, like, this move through, so that
Mhm.
we can feel what it is. It gets more and more ridiculous, but as
Yeah.
we come back to that thing I was saying, or that you were saying,
Mhm.
about giving yourself the time. So that's the last part. So yes, we do move through. We say, keep going, keep brushing your brain, what's next, but that game is on a time limit, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's a minute of work or whatnot. And if we
Yeah.
take that and put it onto what you're saying, it's like, yeah, give yourself I don't know, anytime, whatever it
Mhm.
is, but there's an importance. What I'm hearing is there's an importance in acknowledging and maybe sitting with this uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, yeah, like, I mean, yeah, and why it feels uncomfortable, a little bit, or just like the extent of the uncomfortableness, like,
Mm,
it does it, um when I was doing, like, parts work, uh, therapy, and just parts work is just kind of like, acknowledging different parts of yourself, and be like,
mm,
a part of me feels like this, a part of me feels like that about this one situation, for example. So, but also it can, sometimes it can manifest being like, hey, my uncomfortable feeling is manifesting in, a part of the body, like, maybe in the stomach, or maybe on my shoulder, uh, you
mm,
know and who knows why it's in one place or another, but it's there.
mhm,
And be like, okay, and so it kind of makes you think about, like, what does the stomach represent? What does the shoulder represent?
mhm,
To you, and to explore further, uh, you know, about, like, okay, maybe the shoulder represents, like, protection, and if I'm feeling uncomfortable about protection, do I feel uncomfortable about protecting myself, my heart, maybe, or is
mhm,
it
mhm,
like, or I feel uncomfortable about confidence in general, or yeah, so things like that. But yeah, like, I mean, sitting in it just for a little bit, like you were saying, it's just, it creates a lot more awareness, and taking the time to do that is very important. That we don't, it's not always there, but when you find yourself going with that emotion, it's always good to be like, okay, just going to breathe and sit in this moment just for a little bit longer than I think I should, just to like make sure that, like, just to feel it through, I guess.
The end of this little, I'm going to ask you just to sort of keep talking about that feeling it through, because the end of that was, what part does drama therapy play in holding our unknown lightly?
Right.
And I feel like at the very end of what you're saying, the sitting in just a little longer, the sitting in that moment, it is holding it lightly. We're not trying to go so deep that we can't come out. We're not trying to
Right.
bring depression to
Right.
to ourselves.
No.
We're not doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But there is a benefit, and I think that's the part I'd love you to talk about. Like, there's a benefit in holding that lightly and sitting in that moment. Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah. So this would probably, be more focused on, like, okay, how can we, once again, don't want to sit in the, in any emotion for too long, really. And so it's all, in terms of sitting in it, it could be, like, based off the scene, it could be, like, we're literally sitting in it, just for a little bit. Sorry, excuse me. Ugh, okay. And my dog, she's all over the place. All right, thank you. Hold on. Sorry. But it's I'm just gonna sit in this for a bit.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's also just like, if imagining that you're sitting in a pool of this emotion for a bit, and what does that mean? How do you work with it? How do you deal with it? And maybe some images pop up for your mind, maybe some other emotions that come into play too. Like, helps to, just acknowledging those parts can do wonders, and acknowledging, be like, you know what, I didn't realize that I felt this way about this situation, but now, just like, being in that mode for a little bit and just being aware, that's one version of like treating it lightly, being like, okay, I'm just gonna, if this part of the room represents this emotion, or this, this thought, like, I'm just gonna stand in it for a bit, but then also I can step away from it, when I feel like, okay, I've stepped in it for a little bit, I'm gonna step out of it for a little bit. And so you can treat it lightly based on your own, definition of what lightly is for you.
Yeah. Ooh, that's nice. Yes, I like that. Yeah, we're right on it. They're just reiterating what you said. The stepping, I love that exercise, the designating an area of your room or home or whatnot, just literally sit in an emotion and then move out of that emotion. And I feel like, as far as an on-stage exercise, just literally starting a scene in silence. People are real scared to start a scene in silence, but it does exactly what you were talking about, which is just like exploring what an emotion could come up, what emotion could come up in that moment. So yeah, you did it. Ooh, holding it lightly for whatever that means to you. I think that's big. Khaleesi, we love you.
Khaleesi agrees, so she's there. She says hi.
Hi, baby Khaleesi.
Hi,
Khaleesi says
Khaleesi.
hi to everyone.
Hello. Yeah. So yeah.
All right, friends. That's our time. That's our time. Look us up. Look us up on all the things. All the things come up at the very end. So stay till the end so you can go online. Say hi to Khaleesi whenever you do make a make a note in the chat. Just say hi to Khaleesi so Khaleesi knows that you're loved. We want to say we love you, Emily Arnold. Emily Arnold is just weeks out of giving birth to a child, bringing life onto this planet. So we are sending her so much love. The last thing that we always like to say, you know it, if we don't see you, if we don't, whenever we see you, however we run into you, we would love to chat on and
off the stage.
bye.